Ach, scheiße. Jetzt geht es wieder los. Well, here we go again, everybody. It's Skwatter here with another Ramble, and this time it's going to have the backdrop of Dracula X on Super Nintendo, the Castlevania game that's sort of a, I don't even know what you would call it, a little more than a port over, but not necessarily a remake there. So, this is basically a shadow of the original TurboGrafx CD game. I was actually pretty surprised at how short it was. I thought that there would be several different levels and everything. I mean, just compare this to the number of levels in, say, Super Mario World, right? I mean, there's probably almost 100 in that game, and I could be wrong, right? But it sure seems like there are a hell of a lot of levels in that game, but and I know that this game is only 2 megabytes, that is 16 megabits, but then again, and I've looked it up and it said that this game had to be severely cut back because of the constraints of the cartridge, definitely. Although I would believe that in terms of presentation as well as presentation in terms of audio visual departments. This game is quite admirable. I've always been a fan of the Super Nintendo. I was a Nintendo kid growing up. My family had the NES, Super NES, N64. Then we transitioned to the PlayStation, then to the Xbox, and then we got the GameCube back, and we kind of progressed from there. But the thing is that in recent years, I have only really become aware just of how, you know, powerful the Super Nintendo is. Honestly, like it can do a lot of like I just usually would ignore the graphics in the background and stuff like that. They were just things to basically distract you from the action. I always thought when I was little, right? Yeah, get a load of this, huh? I was like, okay, okay. I'm pretty much going to have to activate the invincibility code right here, right now, right? Get a load of this, right? Rewind, save state load, and everything, right? So I'm just like, yeah, you know what? I'm basically playing essentially the same game over again, so I might as well just activate the invincibility cheat code, which is every time you use the invincibility cheat code, you need to get hit by an enemy every single scene transition that you make. So after I go up these stairs, I would need to get hit by a character and I'd actually fall backwards. And that's what sort of activates the code, right? Because I think it basically just makes invincibility hit frames endless, which normally isn't a really good thing whenever you're recording gameplay footage because when your character flickers on screen after getting hit like you usually do in games like this, it doesn't really record well. It certainly recorded well on VHS when I was doing that, but not so when I was doing DVD or any other kind of digital recording. Your character would sometimes just disappear off of the screen entirely, or sometimes he would flick on and off and like with no transparencies and stuff like that, and there'd only be like 2 or 3 frames before he becomes visible again. So that's always kind of a pain in the ass, right? So I didn't want to have the invincibility code running in a game, say like Dynastic Hero, because then the entire game would have basically been like a terribly flickering on and off visible character the entire game. And as I said, all its warts, but I kind of pride myself in trying to not make it look like garbage, right? I do take the extra effort to put in these scene transitions and everything. But I was looking over, like I was renaming all of my, or sorry, um, uploading custom thumbnails to all of my rambles, and I realized that it's like I think I may or may not have just crossed the 40 game mark in terms of how many games I've played through and beaten for this channel. 40 games on a channel that's been around since March of 2014. So, I mean, we're basically looking at, sometimes I haven't even managed this, but we're basically looking at 4 or so games per year for the last 10 years, which like that's as deplorable. Like that is an embarrassment, right? Like there were times, especially during the pandemic, where it's like I did not like it took me from September 2019 all the way through till I think it must have been early 2023 to beat a single game, and I think that might have been Grandia, the game that I played after Skies of Arcadia, and like it is just remarkable. Like during that hellscape of a time that we all lived through, like just how easily even your hobbies just take a back seat to, just hermetization and depression and that sort of thing, right? So basically what I'm doing nowadays is I guess maybe I'm just trying to knock a whole bunch of these action games off to kind of bloat out what I've already got uploaded here. But no, to be honest, like there is somewhat a bit of rhyme to my reason. It's a whole lot more madness than method. But yeah, no, I really like I should be up in the hundreds of games played at this point, right? Like with all the free time that I've basically just wasted away doing nothing, like just watching stupid YouTube videos. And I wanna have more productive use of my free time, so this is why I'm doing this, right? Because normally I'd watch stupid bullshit videos like from Zoen Fly. I'm not even sure if that's how you pronounce his name. Maybe I'm mispronouncing his name because that guy seems to mispronounce every fifth or sixth word that he speaks, right? He calls the Thames River the Thames River, just as an example, right? And it's just stupid fucking videos where it's just like, oh yeah, there's this guy who claimed that he saw an alien and it was really crazy, and I just have it running in the background. I don't care. Like I'm skeptical to that whole sort of thing, and I know a whole lot of like what actually happened in a lot of these cases because I watch a really good show called Skeptoid by Brian Dunning. I don't agree with him on everything, but uh, pretty much the things that we disagree upon. Yeah, this right here. This I was like, oh okay. How long is this scene going to last? Right, the water that's constantly like rising the screen up, and then you'll die because then it senses that you've drowned and stuff like that, and then it's like, oh man, and then like the jumps that you have to do, like you always have to stand right at the very edge and everything, and you always land at the very edge, and then an enemy hits you, and it may not have been the first hit that you've gotten in the scene, so you get knocked back and then you die and everything. But yeah, no, back to Skeptoid. Like I would say, regardless of whatever you think about it, if you think that climate change is bad, get on to nuclear energy. That's the simplest thing that I'll say. I have a whole lot of other problems with it and everything, but if you think that anthropogenic carbon emissions are the problem, get rid of wind, get rid of solar, get onto nuclear. That's it. And then, a lot of my complaints will be superseded, or if that's even the right term to use, right? That's really all I'm gonna have to say, right? Because I mean, he's a great source to go to, like if you're looking up things like the Kelly Hopkinsville encounter or the Betty and Barney Hill thing, or uh, pretty much like any kind of woo as he calls it, right? But a lot of the time. When it comes to things like climate change related, especially, and I mean, he is from California and I am from Western Canada, we're definitely essentially diametrically opposed in terms of ideologies, in terms of upbringings and value systems and everything like that, but I'd like to think that we both have the world's best intentions in mind, and it's like I want a clean environment to live in, right? I do. I want a clean environment for everybody to live in, but the one thing that I also want is cheap, reliable, and plentiful energy available to everybody, everywhere. And until we decide to get over this stupid obsession we have, or with this fake obsession that we have with cancer related to nuclear energy, which is essentially a myth. I mean, like we have such great like storage containers and procedures for nuclear power and stuff like that. And again, it's like the the atomic pile at uh, Chernobyl back in 1986, I believe it was, maybe 1984. I thought it was during the administration of Gorbachev in Ukraine, Pripyat. That was all entirely purposefully done. They knew what they were doing was dangerous. They shut down every single safety mechanism that would stop them from doing that. That was very purposeful, is what I'm saying. So it's not like it was just a natural occurrence that would happen in any power plant, which I should also say is that atomic pile, or reactor, I guess I should call it, was a Generation 1 graphite-cooled reactor, which has been thoroughly superseded by more recent Gen 2 and Gen 3 reactors that have different cooling methods other than graphite, because graphite is in and of itself inherently flammable, and the only reason why they use it to cool those rods is because it's thick like lead and dense, I should say, and it absorbs radiation. So yeah, no, and then what was the other one? There was Fukushima. Yeah, that the vast majority of deaths happened in the ensuing events after the I believe it was a tsunami in 2011. So it was not. It was almost in no way deaths from radiation in Fukushima either. And then I just remembered the first one. Brian Dunning would call it three nails in the coffin of nuclear energy. It was, I believe, in 1979, and that was 3 Mile Island. And yeah, that was basically just the accidental release of a bunch of radioactive steam, and pretty much the worst anybody got living around it was essentially a chest X-ray. So all the people losing their mind and saying, "Oh, the air tastes like metal or something like that," or they have like a touch of the nerves or a vague feeling of unease that could basically just be chalked up to a mass sociogenic event like the Havana syndrome thing. That's what I think it is. Yeah. So you know what? Like I am generally a skeptic. I do have my own biases, but I am generally a skeptic. Though I am very much so religious, born and raised Catholic. So that's never going to change there. So I just think that evolution versus creation, or science versus religion, it is such a massive waste of time. Nobody's going to change their opinion on it, and if anybody changes either which way, then then it means that they really didn't believe in what they believed in the first place, right? And they have a very they have a very good chance of being convinced back the other way again, right? But no, other than that, that's quite the ramble there, almost completely unrelated to the game. But yeah, no, that's sort of why I call them rambles, right? You can get any kind of information in depth on these games from better sources than I. So this is basically just me talking out my ass. But so we're heading to the end of the video here, and yeah, just testing the password screen. Kind of confounded me for a while, but that's it. Here we are. Skwatter out. Peace.